Get ready.
Get ready. It's time for Bucs Live.
Bucs Live.
Bucs Live.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers talk with Rick Hughes and David Whitecarver.
This is
Bucs Live.
Let's Go.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Let's go, Bucs fans. Let's go, Bucs fans. We got so much to catch up on. My name is Rick Hughes. I'm here with dazzling David Whitecarver. It's good to have you back, buddy.
Hey, great to be here, Rick. Let's go, Bucs.
Let's go, Bucs. We are here. We are on Bucs Report, all of their Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We're on all of our Facebook stuff and Twitter and Twitch. You can always find us at www.bucs.live. You can find us all over the place. That's where we are. And we've got lots to catch up on tonight. It's been really a couple of weeks since we've been on the air. And really, last week we didn't miss much of anything, but the news came kind of fast and furious today at the Combine. Todd Bowles spoke. Jason Licht spoke. A lot going on. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to have a very special guest from Pewter Report. We are going to have JC Allen. You can follow him at JC Allen NFL. He's abundantly full of knowledge, and I'm looking forward to having him on the show. There's all kinds of info. The first thing that I want to talk about is actually Jason Licht talking about Kyle Trask. I've got some audio here from this. Jason Licht talking about Kyle Trask with Trevor Sikkema of with Trevor Sikkema, I believe, of the Draft Network. Here's Jason Licht.
Would you have been comfortable going with Trask if Brady would have stayed retired last year?
Yes, absolutely. We're very excited about Kyle. He had a hell of a career at Florida. You know, he's got a history of taking advantage of his opportunities. 43 touchdowns, 8 interceptions his senior year in SEC. I mean, that's not easy to do. So now he's had the opportunity to sit behind Tom for 2 years, see how Tom operates. Blaine's a true professional as well, so see how those guys operate. We think it's just only going to help him help his cause. He's got an arm. He can get the ball from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. He's smart. He works hard. What else do you want? Here, let's go. We can make it. We can make this work.
All right. So basically, they're selling us on the idea that he's been behind the greatest. He's learned what he's learned. He's the kind of guy. To his credit, this is fact. He always is kind of overlooked and forgotten. The number 3 guy somehow finds himself starting and does well. I
mean, he was behind De'Aaron King in high school, for goodness sakes. He was backup quarterback there. So
he just ends up finding his way and then doing well when he has the opportunity. Hopefully we'll have the same thing here. And for Bucs fans, listen, we had the greatest for 3 years. We knew that 3 years was going to come to an end when we got him. Here we are. I know you got spoiled over the last 3 years. Here you go. This is your Bucs. And this is where we are right now. We're paying a little bit, but this team's not in horrible cap shape like the Saints. I mean, by next year, we're fine cap-wise. And they're able to get rid of the cap difficulties all in 1 year. So, what can you say? Dave, do you have anything you want to add about Kyle Trask?
Well, my thought is Jason Licht said all the right things, but nobody was saying anything up to this point about Kyle Trask in a positive light. He didn't get reps in practice. I have not seen anything that would indicate, oh boy, Kyle Trask is your quarterback. They're going to say he's the only quarterback under contract at the moment. What else are they going to talk about? Of course, they're going to say, we're giving Kyle Trask a chance. He works hard. He's this, he's that. Danny Werfel won a national championship with the Florida Gators, and look what he had as an NFL career. I mean, that's saying we did great in the SEC. He did great in the SEC, so he did to a certain extent. But that doesn't translate to the NFL necessarily, and I haven't seen anything that's going to indicate it will.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Dave. No, you haven't seen anything that indicates that it will, but you haven't seen anything that indicates that he can't perform. You haven't seen anything. None of us have.
Preseason wasn't thrilling.
Really? Really? So that's what you got. But I mean, okay, his preseason.
Well, that's all we got. That's the point.
And I agree. That's my point. Also, is we really don't know either way. I don't think everybody needs to jump ship and run around. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. We don't know yet, and you don't have to be that good in this division right now. Although I think what the Panthers are doing as far as coaching staff, they're putting together a heck of a coaching staff right here in Charlotte. But I don't know. I mean, I don't see the Saints being, I see them as being for years to come. The Falcons, maybe they can build something, but nobody looks like some, like, oh my gosh, look at them. I mean, I think that the most difficult team to beat this year is probably going to be Carolina. But I don't know. I mean, if you're one of those three teams in our division, who are you looking at and saying that's the toughest team? I mean, when you look at the roster with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, you look at our tight ends, you look at Rachaad White, you look at the defense with Vita Vea, with Shaq Barrett coming back, with Antoine Winfield. Levante David, maybe, assuming he comes back, and Devin White. If I'm any of those other three teams, the Bucs still look like they're the most difficult team in the division. And I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. From the bottom of my heart, I believe that we will be better this year with a Kyle Trask than we were last year with Tom Brady. I'm not saying Kyle Trask is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. Everybody simmer down. But I am saying I believe we will be better this year. The goal that we are hearing from our shiny new offensive coordinator and from the coaching staff and everybody is that we're not looking for him to go out and win games and be the superstar. We are looking for him to, and I quote, be the point guard, much like Geno Smith was in Seattle this year. And that worked out pretty darn good. So I don't know.
It's a new offensive coordinator who's never called plays before.
Well, correct. Not in the NFL, but nobody's called plays till you've called plays. I mean, Tony Dungy had never been a head coach until he was with Tampa, and we got stuck with him as a second choice, third choice, fourth choice, whatever. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Look, this is not ideal. I hear you. What are you expecting? I mean, seriously, what are your expectations? If you're not like, okay, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle this year, but we can still win this division, go Bucs. If you're not in that position, you're like every other Bucs fan who's just hell-bent on negativity. I mean, again, if you're one of the other three teams in this division, you're still scared of the Bucs.
Well, I think the Panthers have an advantage in that they have now the best head coach in the division with Frank Reich. I think that was a great hire. I don't know how long it will take for that to show through. I mean, you have to make other decisions that are positive and go along with it.
Ask if they agree with that in Indy. Ask in Indianapolis if they.
Well, Indianapolis is a dysfunctional organization and will be with Jim Irsay running it.
The year prior, they looked very good. I mean, they I don't know, that fell apart. By the way, I don't know if you heard today, but I guess New Orleans is going to cut Jameis Winston. Atlanta today cut Marcus Mariota. So those two still linked at the hip. We'll be back
Some
out
things
there.
Never change.
We'll be back out there on the free agent market. So we'll see what happens.
Remember, we were at that first game, Mariota and Winston.
That. I remember it far too clearly, and it's just a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It is. I remember Winston's first pass. It told the tale of I believe his first pass was a pick six. I mean, there's nothing that could have been more telling than that. I mean, it's just, hey, everybody, here's your future. And he threw for a lot of yards in that game, almost brought the Bucs back. Jameis did. Almost.
Darn turnovers, huh?
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he'll fix that, right?
Yeah. He's working on it.
He's got the arm. He's got all the tools. He'll fix that.
He's balling. Check your sheet.
Bruce Arians is a quarterback whisperer. It'll be no problem. He'll fix it.
He whispered to Jameis. He whispered, bye-bye. But you're going to say bye-bye when the greatest of all time, comes knocking on your door. Yeah, you're going to say bye-bye to pretty much everybody. I don't know. There's not a lot of other options. Let me say this. Let me play a video here from the Free Press of Todd Bowles discussing Kyle Trask.
He won yet. I just said he can compete. I said he can compete. I see the work ethic. I see the toughness. I see the willingness to get better every day. It's hard to get reps when you have a guy like Tom Brady in front of you that's playing all the time. So he would have an opportunity to compete to become number one if he can become number one. And that's all you can ask for in this league. You don't give anybody anything. So we're bringing some competition, obviously, but at the same time, I like his work ethic. I like his determination. He's one of those guys, when the cameras are off, he's working. And that's what you can appreciate about him. And that's the best I can tell you.
So everybody who's ripping this guy to shreds, let's wait and see. I have no reason to believe he's going to be good. I have no reason to believe he's not going to be. Right now, let's just see. Like he said, Kyle Trask had no chance to get reps because of Brady. But, there's not going to be a lot asked of him in this offense. Dave, you and I talked a little bit about this offense. We'll have J.C. Allen talk to us about it as well. J.C. is from Pewter Report. He'll be here shortly. And, they wrote an article that you and I have both read and talked about what this newfangled, shiny new offense is going to be. It's going to be spread out. What's the term for it, Dave?
I believe it's wide zone.
Wide zone. What it is basically instead of with under Arians, everything was vertical. Everything goes lateral. We're going to be taking up a lot more space using the field side to side and spreading everybody out, which instead of your running back, this is my understanding. I'm looking forward to JC coming on here, but my understanding is instead of you basically telling your running back, okay, you're going to hit the hole by the right tackle on this play, what you do is everything is spread wider and the running back gets to more choose the hole that he's gonna take. There's more lateral movement.
It means you need a running back that has good vision, can make quick decisions, and can accelerate into a hole.
Which brings us to
why Leonard Fournette got caught.
Right, Leonard Fournette got cut today. Leonard Fournette, not the speediest guy, not maybe the quickest decision. He's a power back. He's
a ram.
Yeah. Last year, not so much. Last year, he didn't really run with as much authority. Last year, he wasn't the same kind of guy. Doesn't have he's 29 years old, I believe. I think 30 traditionally was the end of a running back's career. So, I mean, look, we were looking at the end, and he was making too much money for us to keep paying. So, goodbye
it was
to
a business
Leonard Fournette.
decision.
It was. And let me tell you something. This is something we discussed. Leonard Fournette's going to be gone. We found that out. Donovan Smith, we found out today from Pewter Report. Pewter Report is reporting Donovan Smith will be gone. We'll talk to J.C. Allen about that.
And with the wide zone, you need agile offensive linemen who have good footwork. Thus, Donovan Smith not remaining with the Bucs.
So he will be gone. I do. Cam Brate, they're just not going to re-sign Cam Brate. And also, Cam Brate, I'm not sure if he's a free agent or not, but he will be cut. He'll be gone one way or the other because we can't afford. Yeah, he's, I believe, under contract, but for like $15 million or something, he's going to be gone. The other person will be Ryan Succop, and I know they're all speaking glowingly about him at the combine. But listen, if you can't kick it over 50 yards, you're not going to make a chunk of money. I mean, he doesn't kick off, and he can't kick 50-plus yard field goals. I think we're looking at I think we've seen the last days with Ryan Succop, and we'll bring another kicker in and see what happens there.
Or we could draft one.
Trade up into the second round and draft a kicker, because that's what we do. But anyway,
I have tried so hard to get over that. I really have, but it just comes out.
Well, I get what happened. And over the last 5-6 years, Bucs fans can tell you the importance of a kicker. I mean, just what a big deal it is. But you know who else can talk about what a big deal a kicker is our guest today, our special guest that I'm looking forward to bringing on here. The man, the myth. I've known this guy for a few years now. We both kind of got into this mess the same way. Love bringing this guy in here. Let's add him. JC Allen. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, guys? How we doing tonight?
Hey.
The show just got so much better.
It did. Got smarter.
It's always good.
Yep, got smarter. So, man, Pewter Report has been all over so much. You are with Pewter Report. You guys have been on this from the beginning. You had a phenomenal article about the cap, and it's where I got Leonard Fournette, Donovan Smith, Cam Brate, and Ryan Succop. Them, just those four clear a big chunk of cap space. You're where you're working right now, Josh. You guys are kind of you are the lead dogs when it comes to this. So, first and foremost, welcome. What are your impressions of Kyle Trask?
Yeah, we've been really killing it right now, pumping out a lot of content. Always happy to be here as always. Some of the moves were kind of predictable, but some of the moves have also been confirmed via sources inside the building as well. So we kind of knew about those. We report on what we know. It's not always picked up by the big guys, but at least we know we got it first, and we know we got it right.
You're kind of the big guy. You are one of the big guys now.
I'm talking national.
You just got it. Yeah, you guys. Pretty soon you'll figure out you're the big guys.
It's right. It's I see Tom Pelissero pointed that. I was like, well, it looks like national media is catching up. But
yep.
Kyle Trask is an interesting case. When the Bucs drafted him, they said all the right things. The biggest thing for them was, quote unquote, he checks up from the neck up, which means he's got all the smarts and the ability to learn the systems. There were a few things that came out this past season with Clyde Christensen saying he was a deliberate learner. Really kind of doesn't just always pick it up the first time, wants to go over the second and third time to make sure he really has it. It's just like some people who can just listen to music and pick up a guitar and play it without having to look at the tabs or the notes, and that's kind of like, that's not what Kyle Trask is. He needs the tabs and he needs the notes in front of him. But that's not always a bad thing. We haven't seen him really with the ones at all. We don't know what they've seen in practice, but obviously in preseason and that mop-up duty he got late this season against the Falcons, we haven't seen him with the ones, so we haven't really seen what he can do with the strong supporting cast around him. I always agree with teams taking quarterbacks even when they have them and developing them. I think that's fundamental in the NFL, and I think if you really kind of look at it, we've seen that in certain places, and guys go on to have really good careers. Jimmy Garoppolo behind Brady is one of them. I think Kirk Cousins behind Robert Griffin III before RG3 got injured and derailed his career. You always want to be developing guys and bringing guys in. So I think the Bucs made the right move when they made the selection, and I think they're making the right move now, kind of seeing what this kid's got. Now, I don't think that should come without competition at all.
Well,
But
that would be my next question, Joshua, is what else is being done, going to be done? What do you see the vision of the second and third string quarterbacks? Is Gabbert coming back, even though he's a free agent? Or I would think they're looking at a veteran help and somebody who can start if Trask isn't ready.
yeah, I think that's definitely going to be on the docket for them. They're going to want to get somebody in here who's done it at a high level before. You're talking, or, at least a consistent level. Maybe not necessarily high, but I think you're looking at, some of these career journeyman backup guys, a guy like Jacoby Brissett, a guy like maybe Baker Mayfield, or potentially Sam Darnold, or, there's a number of guys that I think could come in here and compete and challenge Trask. Another guy like Tyler Heineke, another guy who the Bucs passed on was Marcus Mariota, who's now been released. So there's definitely a number of guys that they can get in here.
What's with the recent smoke over?
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Joshua's building his house at the same time that he's.
Is he ambidextrous?
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of smoke recently around Geno Smith. What the heck?
Geno Smith. I think they're connecting those dots due to the relationship he had with the new offensive coordinator, right? But I just don't think the Bucs are in that market. When Tom Brady retired and filled out his paperwork, that went away with a lot of their flexibility they had to manipulate the cap. I think now what you're going to look at is just low signing guys. I once thought Derek Carr would be a strong possibility. They wanted to keep the train rolling, but even that I think now looks out of the realm of possibility. I think they want to bite the bullet this year, take that cap hit, and then next year is when, if Kyle Trask doesn't pan out, if one of these veteran guys, they'll either have a nice draft pick, or they'll be in a situation where they won the division and they'll maybe have to make some moves.
What's your opinion? My understanding is they could have split Tom Brady's cap hit between next season and the following season, and they took it all in this one. What do you think the Bucs were thinking, and what's your opinion on that move?
Right. If they designate him as a post-June first retirement, there were ways where they could have negated his salary cap impact. Instead, they take the whole thing on this year. And I think it's just, Jason Licht said it, we knew this bill was coming. We knew Tom wasn't going to play forever. We locked him up for one season. We got 3 out of him. So, we're not going to look back at the process, but now it's time to pay the bill. And do you push it out even further? Even with doing that, you're still going to have to do some massive restructures, even with the cuts they're going to make of potentially suck up Smith, Fournette, and also Cam Brate. Russell Gage is another guy who most likely isn't going to be released, but if he is, that's it. So really what you don't want to do is continue to push that burden down the road. They have about $85 million in cap space projected next year. That doesn't include extensions for guys like Antoine Winfield Jr., Devin White, Tristan Wirfs. That doesn't include any restructures they do this year that pushes cap down the road. That doesn't include any situations where maybe it's not quite as large of a chunk of change, but if they want to add a void year to a guy's contract that they sign in free agency, that's going to come down quite a bit. And you don't want to eat into that. You take this season, figure out what you got in Kyle Trask or whatever is behind door number 2, and then you move on to next year with a clean slate and a clean cap.
Josh, the Glazers usually they're in and out of town very quickly. They came in, spent a solid 3-4 days meeting with Todd Bowles and Jason Licht, and really set out a plan for the future and what they were planning on doing, not just this year, but years to come. And they wanted, there's apparently a plan in place that's not just for this year. Any vibes, any feelings, any thoughts? Did they basically come in and tell Todd Bowles, look, we know you're stuck with this year. We know you're a little bit saddled this year. You're going to have a third year.
I'm not sure if that was the scenario. You can't promise coaches anything past the season that you have them on for. And even then, how many times have we seen coaches get fired mid-season? But I think with
Urban
Bowles,
Meyer.
right. I think with Bowles, the situation here was he didn't get the fairest of shakes coming into this job.
Right.
Coming in March 30th, staffs are set, everything's set, draft prep is set. So this is his real first year to kind of say, okay, you did things the BA way. There's going to be things that stick with that because, I've been with him in multiple spots, but we're going to do things the Bowles way. We're drafting players. We're looking at players that I want to have in here. We're looking at different things, situations with an offensive coordinator that, Bowles knew how predictable the offensive system was, right? And, the only reason it really kind of broke out of its shell this past season or last two seasons is because of the amount of talent they had on the field. So, Bowles knows, what he was dealing with on offense, and there was no time to make any changes. So, let's get my defense ready to go. And, defense looked good the first couple of games, until they started losing bodies. And that's really when it affected them. And the Bucs offense was even worse than he could imagine, not even being able to score 22 points a game, which would have, done them a lot better throughout the season, finished with a winning record, etc. So
it was almost a 10-point drop from the prior season. It was really quite remarkable.
Right. So now this season, he gets to do everything the way he wants it 1,000%. He gets to go into the draft. He gets to go in with an offensive coordinator that he chose and hitched his wagon to him. Do I think he gets a third year? Not sure. A lot of things are going to depend on how the season goes. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did, given the fact that, this is again, in a situation where you really can't do anything with the salary cap.
Right.
And making the moves you want to make in free agency, you're going to be looking for value guys and bargain guys and trying to fill probably at least 2 to potentially 3 starting positions in the draft this year.
Right.
So, another year where now he finally has control, but does he have a really fair shake of assembling the team he wants to? I don't think
okay. So that's where I'm at. And I'm thinking, I don't want to get back on this new coach every 2-year carousel thing. I'd rather let's go ahead and commit. Let's give the guy a third year. Let him survive. Let him survive this mess. The mess that we have now. Yeah.
And I think really the only ways he goes is, I don't think the Bucs want to win the division. They're going to say that that's their goal, not say that they can think the division. Every team needs to think that way, whether you're the Lions or whether you're the Bucs. You need to think that you're going to win the division. But if they come up short, I don't, especially if other teams make moves in situations. Frank Reich is developing a really nice staff. He's got a solid defense. They get a quarterback and some pieces in there. That could be a very dangerous team that could go ahead and win the division. If they're competitive and, Bowles is known for his defense. If his defense doesn't fall apart and they're losing games because of the defense, even though that they have the most players that they're going to have to probably replace on the defense, I think that would be the situation where they really underachieved. It was the majority of the defense really struggled all season, which was Bowles' calling card. Maybe they'll say, okay, we need to get somebody else in here. But I think I don't necessarily see that happening.
Josh, from your insight, Joshua, how good a coach do you think Todd Bowles is?
I think Bowles is a really good coach. I think he's a very smart and cerebral head coach. He obviously, there are some questionable moments in game management, but I think his ability to get the team prepared is, very strong. His ability to call a defense is obviously very strong. Highest paid defensive coordinator in the league before he became the head coach. And I think he's got a good grasp and good control of that room. They respect him. The dissension that I heard through that was ripping through the locker room at times this season didn't stem from Todd Bowles. And if it did stem from Tom Bowles, it was the frustration that he didn't make a move with Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
But most of the dissension was between the coaching staff and between Byron Leftwich and some players and some of the coaches. I mean, Goody came out mid-season in an article with Rick Stroud saying that, hey, I've got the plays, I don't call the plays. I had players tell me that every week we get together and, we put together what plays what run plays we think are going to work best. And, the plays get called towards the end of the game or not even at all, and that's from some of the linemen on the team. So this is a situation where really I think Byron was, as we said, was exposed and was in over his head and didn't have any experience to fall back on other than what he's been in, and that's the Arian system the whole time. So Canals is such a intriguing hire because he's has so much experience in so many systems. I mean, you start even with the Pete Carroll system, and then you go through the Darrell Bevels and all the other coordinators that he's coordinator. He's got a wealth of experience and knowledge to go back to and say, okay, this situation happened in this scenario. This happened in this scenario. What did this guy do under this in this situation? What would he call? We've been in this situation before. I know just the play, hey guys, it's this from this, whatever. So there's just a lot to like. He brings energy, enthusiasm. He's a younger head coach. So, a younger offensive coordinator. I think there's a lot to like about this guy. He's talked about a modern but balanced approach to the offense. And obviously it takes getting the pieces there and putting them in place for him to succeed. And that starts with quarterback. But we'll see how it goes. So far he said all the right things. Now it's about, getting this team assembled together, getting guys in the off season, getting guys into rookie mini camp, OTAs mini camp, and then into training camp, and seeing if he can piece it together for the regular season.
Josh, how bad was the hiring process? I mean, how many people did they try to hire and got turned down? I firmly believe that even if he was their 11th choice, that doesn't mean he's a bad choice. And I'm kind of excited to see what he's going to do.
Right.
Much like Tony Dungy was their 4th or 5th choice the year they ended up with him as head coach.
Right. Yes.
How bad was that hiring process? How much of a mess was that?
So there was definitely guys that turned them down. I think some of the most notable, Todd Monken was one of the guys, and also the coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, and the quarterback's coach for the Giants are just 3 of the guys. I think majority of the rest of the guys is they were just kind of, you want to be thorough. I mean, look at the Colts. They took a very thorough search. I think you want to be thorough and have the right guy, and you don't want to just, again, this is probably Todd's last head coaching chance in the NFL. So you want to be thorough. You want to make sure that you have the right guy for the job. Would they have liked to have some of the other guys that turned them down? I'm probably sure they would have. But at the end of the day, they went through the interview process. They had multiple interviews with multiple candidates, and they decided that out of all these guys, that as Coach Bowles said, that his the way he's going to fit in chemistry-wise, culture-wise, the ideas he's bringing on how to fix this offense, how to turn this offense around, and how to utilize the guys who are currently on the roster, and then also supplement anyone else they bring in, really kind of wowed them.
The young guy thing, it's also, having a young guy who's, he's active on social media. He's got the young vibe about him. You're injecting that energy and new blood into the situation as well, I think. But Josh, you brought up something. I want to ask you this, because maybe I'm being a homer. I feel like if you're in Carolina or Atlanta or New Orleans, you're still looking at the Bucs as though they're probably the best team in the division. I mean, you rattle off Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Rachaad White, Devin White.
They probably have the best assortment of weapons on offense in the NFC South. That's probably for sure.
And defense.
Defense is a question. There's some question mark. They definitely have the pieces there. Guys like Vita Vea, that middle is still intact with Vita Vea, Devin White, and
who doesn't have questions though? Who doesn't?
That's true. That's true. I think if you look at all these teams, the Saints defense is always ready to go. I think the Panthers defense is really kind of we're up and coming. and they're on that cusp of being really good. They've strung some really good performances together.
Agreed.
Atlanta, I think, is a mess right now.
Yeah.
They have a messy situation, and really, I don't know if anything they do is going to really catapult them into the conversation of NFC South champions. You bet your ass they're going to give the Bucs a tough time in one or two of those games, but
Yeah.
I definitely don't think that they're a team you look at and say, even if they get a quarterback, they're a problem. I think the Saints and I think the Panthers, depending on where they go with this quarterback position, if one of them land Derek Carr, or maybe the Panthers get a guy early, they could be in the talk of the NFC South Division champions, but it's going to take some work to retool
I
this
just know,
roster.
yeah. If
And
I
you have
was
a question with Kyle Trask. I mean, you have the same concerns about Kyle Trask, if not more than you do about Desmond Ridder, who's the Falcons' projected quarterback.
right,
And there's a lot of holes in this defense. You're talking about 1 to 2 starting safeties if you're keeping Antoine Winfield in the nickel. If you're not talking about 2 starting safeties, you're talking about 2 starting cornerbacks with the outside corner and nickel. Does Levante return? You might need a starting linebacker. What's Shaq Barrett's progress going to look like? How is he going to come back? You could use an edge rusher there.
he's a pretty key part of this defense, isn't he? Shaq Barrett's sort of the key to this defense.
Absolutely, he's a big part of it. But Achilles tears are no joke. He's on the opposite side of 30, and he didn't always rely on his speed, good speed for sure, but he's not a speed rusher type guy. Does he lose any speed? Does that impact him? Joe Tryon-Trinka, the pressures were there, the sacks were not.
He's got speed.
Is he going to take that next step this final season? And you could always use more speed on the edge, especially when you're losing guys like Anthony Nelson, Carl Nassib, potentially Cam Gill. So your depth there is depleted as it is. And the same thing with the defensive line. Right now you've got 2 guys. You got Vita Vea and Logan Hall. Logan Hall needs to bulk up this summer, and he needs to play a little more disciplined. But there were flashes where he showed this guy could really be, a really solid pick at the top of the second round. Yeah. Probably never a Hall of Famer or a Pro Bowl guy, but a guy who can get you a couple sacks a year and be a good penetrator while holding up in the run. But behind them, all the other guys are free agents. So the defense, I really think, has the most area where it needs to attack in free agency and potentially the draft. Now the Bucs could use some upgrades on offense too. It appears that Donovan Smith will be moving to the left side, and Luke Gadecki will probably get the first crack at that right tackle spot.
Whoa! Hold on.
Yes,
I think you said that wrong.
No.
Who's moving to the left side?
It would be Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gadecki manning that right tackle spot.
Right, got it. Okay, you said Donovan Smith. I was like, wait
Donovan
a minute.
Smith, yes, no, he's
right. He's gone. Right.
Yes, Tristan Wirfs will be moving to the left side, and Gadecki will be taking that right tackle spot, at least the first crack at it.
Right.
I'm sure they'll probably look at a low-cost veteran tackle, maybe a swing tackle. I like a guy like Cam Fleming, who was with the Broncos last year, had a bunch of starts.
Wasn't that Hainsey's natural position, isn't it?
Hainsey's natural position in college was right tackle. He's trained at center and guard. I think he'll probably be in that left guard competition with Nick Leverett. Potentially draft.
He's not going to be right tackle.
No, I think Luke would be right tackle in that situation. He played the last game of the year at right tackle and turned out his best performance of his career.
Which isn't saying much.
Right, but I think they'll give him first opportunity for that with either a free agent or a rookie, someone to kind of challenge him. So, you've got some question marks on the offensive line. Gage, can he stay healthy? Does he stay in the roster? If not, you could still use speed at wide receiver, something that they had last year but didn't know how to utilize. And really, the players just weren't that great. Wow. Scotty Miller and Brashad Perriman and, Julio Jones banged up most of the year. So they'll need some speed at wide receiver. Running back is going to be a position they need, and obviously quarterback.
I know I'm saying something that I know how much you love Tom Brady, but I'm going to go there. Look, I believe the reason the speed didn't matter, the reason Brashad Perriman and Scotty Miller didn't really weren't really much of anything last year is they couldn't be. I mean, when you've got a quarterback who will not hold the ball for more than 2 seconds, regardless of whether he has the time to or not, you end up with guys these are guys whose the route's got to develop. They've got to have time to get downfield.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's multiple situations at least last year
Right.
that caused that downfield game to not be there. I think if you put a different coordinator on this team last year that wasn't from the Bucs system, I think you're looking at very different results, and we're talking about very different results in the
Right.
postseason as well. The injuries still played a big part, but I think there's games where guys were healthy that they lost that they could have won. And I think it's just a lot of it was the scheme and the play calling, but also injuries, and it wasn't Tom's best season by far. I'm not going to give him a pass.
Right.
But we'll see a different offense. We'll see a different scheme. Obviously, we won't see Tom Brady, but we'll see how that develops, and we'll see how the quarterback situation develops as the offseason moves towards the new league year in March.
Yeah. All right.
I have
Josh?
a curious question for Josh.
Yes.
And I can't figure it out, and I haven't really found anybody to give me a good answer. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Why is Bruce Arians still around the Bucs, and what is his role?
Yeah, so I don't think Bruce is going to be around as much. I mean, he kind of stepped back a little bit last year. He started, not traveling for away games. Doesn't really like it up in the booth. I think he'll pop in here and there, but I think most of the time he'll be a phone call situation instead of walk in the building into his office situation. I think Bruce being there was probably part of a distraction, not to Bowles or anything like that, but just, okay, our former head coach is here, our head coach is here.
I felt like that was weird from Jump Street. Right? When I saw him in the golf cart at practice, I was like, that's kind of weird if you're Todd Bowles.
Why is he there?
Right.
I mean, you're already over.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Office episode with Michael Scott when he's transferring over to D'Angelo, who was played by Will Ferrell's character.
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, I've seen a few of those. Yeah.
Any of you listeners or viewers who've seen that kind of know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's that awkwardness where the old boss is there and like, well, we kind of do things this way.
Right,
and this has worked. And then the guy's like, yeah, well, I like to do things this way, So
I think it's more magnified because of the personalities. Bruce Arians is kind of this larger than life, cartoonish character, and Todd Bowles is extremely reserved. And so when you've got the more outgoing former coach popping around, it tends to stand out.
Right. Yeah, right. And Bowles has good humor. It's just a drier sense of humor. It's not a boisterous, loud kind of sense of humor like Bruce Arians. We've seen it pop through a few times. But yeah, it's I don't think his role is going to be as prominent as maybe it was last season for sure.
Yeah. All right, Joshua, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle's right there at JCAllenNFL. Find us on at Pewter Report on Twitter as well. PewterReport.com is where you'll find all of our amazing work that's been being pumped out by everybody over there. Josh Capo is killing it with the cap stuff.
Yes,
SR is breaking news left and right. Maddie's doing an incredible job running the podcast week in and week out and also contributing to some great stories. Bailey Adams has been just an amazing addition to the team since the beginning of the season last year with his editing ability and just his stories alone. And our new guy, Sly, over there, who's our intern, Adam Silvan, he's been pumping out some really good stories and such as well. We're at the Combine all week this week, so definitely check out our podcast over at YouTube at Pewter Report TV. We broke down today the press conferences. We'll be breaking down prospects all week, which guys are Bucs fits, talking to the guys in interviews, kind of figuring out what their mindset's like, who could be targets, and that will continue, obviously, right all the way to the draft, where we've had an excellent track record recently of grabbing guys, myself included there. I had Trask, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka 2 years ago.
Yep.
And then I also had last year, I had K-Dot and Rashad White. So
nice.
And Logan Hall for that matter. So 3 guys in my Bucs battle plan. That will come out next week sometime. We'll be dropping those. So those are always fun to.
Just for fun on the way out, I got to remind you, and I will always remember the moment of you breaking the Buccaneers draft pick and having the cannons go off right behind your head and scaring the crap out of you live when it happened.
The guy was there and he didn't tell me. So rude.
Yeah. Josh, JC Allen from Pewter Report, thank you for being here and making us smarter.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Josh.
Always a pleasure. Let me know when you want me on.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Like as often as possible, especially
Yes,
coming
sir.
around the draft.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that is J.C. Allen from Pewter Report. Dave, you and I, let's do this. Let's step away for just about 20 seconds. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. That was awesome, man. He's awesome to have on here. I mean, seriously, it's he's just so much knowledge and everything. It's fantastic. But we've got a couple of things, Dave. I've got you for about 15 more minutes, so we got some things I want to touch on before we go forward. Before I talk a little bit about the press conferences today. Before we talk a little bit about maybe some upcoming draft stuff, we've got a new segment that we're going to feature here today.
Well, what might that segment be, Rick?
Well, you know how sometimes these spoiled athletes or entertainment folks or it could be fans, it could be anybody. Sometimes they can get a little out of hand. And Dave's going to take a minute here. You got to understand, guys, this opener, I love this opener. I can't begin to tell you how much I love this opener. It's Dave's face. You'll understand it in a second. But with dazzling David White Scarver, don't be a baby.
Come on, say the hip hop, the hip to the hip hop, and you don't stop the rocket to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the.
Dave, have at it.
All right, it's the off season, so we're doing some catch up on Don't Be a Baby. We've got 2 babies for the price of 1. And here's the first group of babies. Anybody from the National Football League who thought having the Pro Bowl turn into flag football needs to quit being a baby and treating these players as such. When I think of the National Football League, I think of Lawrence Taylor, Ray Lewis, Dick Butkus. Yes, I'm dating myself. Ray Nitschke. Guys who, Jack Youngblood, Leroy Selman, people who played football, not some flag mess that usually is done in college campuses under the eyes of intramurals. You're taking guys who, since they were 5 years old, had pads on and slobber knocked each other. Did you see all of the roughing penalties playing flag football? What did you think was going to happen? You've got guys who have pads on, have been playing professional football for years, been playing since they were 5, and they're getting out there, and they're wanting to knock the snot out of each other, and they did. And then you go, oh, roughing. And it was priceless. It was priceless. I wish no ill on Myles Garrett. I really do. But after all these precautions that they've gone through, we're just going to play a little flag football. He fractures his toe. So not only are you doing something that's an absolute embarrassment, can you imagine if tennis had an all-star game and they go, oh, but we're just going to play a little badminton. It's the same thing. It's not even the same game. It's an embarrassment. That was the first. Now we have the second. Guess who? Pretty much every player on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm hearing, oh, the game was stolen. Oh, if we had our quarterback, we would have won by a lot. Look, you gave up 31 points and there was no quarterback missing from your defense. Quit saying stolen. Quit whining like a baby. Take it like a man. Tip your helmet to him and say, we'll come get you next year. But don't sit there and whine. And I'm talking to you, Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, you're better than that. You're a better player than that. And quit acting like a baby.
Oh, nice, Dave. Nice. Don't be a baby. Let's play that opener one more time, just because I just think it's hilarious.
Come on, center hip, hop, the hip to the hip, hip, hop, you don't stop, the rocket to the bang, bang, boogie, say up, jump, the boogie to the rhythm of the.
David,
how many takes did it take for me to do that like skating thing?
Yeah, that was hard. I know.
That took all afternoon. It was tough.
Getting him in the diaper wasn't easy either. David Weisgarber, don't be a baby.
Stop it.
All right. Awesome.
You're embarrassing yourself.
We'll be back in 10 seconds. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about, it's hard to follow that up. Let's talk a little bit about the press conferences from today at the Combine. Highlights basically from Todd Bowles. He talked about how the defense needs to focus on turnovers in the red zone and getting healthy and staying healthy. That he didn't say it, but he somewhat alluded to the fact that things looked like they were going to be pretty good last year until the bodies started dropping fast and dropping early. And, that he's looking forward to having his whole group back. That I think is interesting. He said, and this was a quote that I thought was very interesting, when they were talking about the importance of Shaq Barrett. He said, this is the first 3-4 defensive team where the outside linebacker hasn't led the team in sacks. And that's the first 3-4 defensive team where the outside linebacker, Shaq Barrett, normally, didn't lead the team in sacks. Shaq Barrett is the key to this defense. Shaq Barrett is everything on this defense is built around that position that Shaq Barrett plays. He is the key to the whole thing. And he pretty much alluded to that today and how it really hurt the team. Now listen, Joshua Allen, JC Allen there just a minute ago, he made reference to Joe Tryon-Stroyinka and progress that was made and everything. And Todd Bowles said he expects more progress this year. The thing that I want to see from him, if you could hear in your head the sound of a gnat buzzing around you, flying around you, and it's annoying, but it can't do anything to you. That's Joe Tryon-Stroyinka. Joe Tryon-Stroyinka. That's him to quarterbacks. So fast, buzzing around the quarterbacks at some next level speed, but never doing anything. That is, he's sort of
not an influence.
Right. There you go. Oh, that's great. Great. Ooh, I like that. I like that. So anyway, I see that as kind of that was important to me. The highlights of Jason Light's press conference for the fact that he actually had one and managed to speak for a relatively lengthy period of time and say absolutely nothing. He said nothing. He's not going to give anything away, guys. If you're looking for news out of the combine, you're just looking for rumors to buy into. Sorry, my cat just jumped up on the desk and knocked the cable out of the computer. Sorry.
These things happen.
Yes,
it's the work from home thing.
so yeah, it's the kind of thing where I see. Look, we're not going to get any news. If they're telling you something, it's probably a lie. So whatever you're hearing, it's probably a lie. We don't know what they're going to do in the draft. They're not going to tell you what they're going to do in the draft. When they tell you this player or that player looks phenomenal and looks great, they might be just trying to build them up for trade value. If they allude to a player maybe not being quite as good, maybe they're trying to keep other teams from going after him. I mean, there are a lot of things. There's a lot going on right now. So listen to everything, but don't believe any of it. Don't buy into any of it. Just take it into account. Okay, they said this, and leave it there. That's all you're getting out of the combine. That's it. I think we've got 2 months almost basically till the draft. And that's when we're really going to start to find out what's going on. That and free agency. Free agency starts March 15th. Don't expect the Bucs to be big players right off the bat in free agency. There's usually a second round of free agents, sort of the guys that don't get signed the first time, and then they didn't. What do young people say? They didn't grab the bag. They didn't make all the money they had hoped first round, and now they're just looking to catch on somewhere. That's where you can see the Bucs probably start to be players.
Well, if they can hit on some of these players, then you've got depth for when you're able to have clear cap space for the following season. So you're kind of developing depth if you
yeah.
want.
This, by the way, Jeff Olson said the big takeaway from Light's face when talking about Levante David coming back did not look good. Let me tell you, this is exactly what I'm talking about, where they're maybe just trying to set Levante's expectations, maybe trying to tamper down, what he is. Hey, listen, man, if you really want to come back, basically what he said was, well, it's a two-party thing. He has to agree to the terms as well. They're basically sending signals to him, probably saying, we're not going to have that much to give you this year. And I think that's the message being sent to Levante's people. And don't read too much into it, Jeff. This is all positioning. Everybody's just positioning themselves right now. And I just don't want you to buy too much into that, Jeff. It's all games right now. It's all gamesmanship. Quarterbacks coming up. The question is, there are a couple of things I want to bring up. Bryce Young. A lot of talk about Bryce Young. Look, the guy's done a lot. He has done a lot in college. Having said that, he's very small. He is very small for an NFL quarterback. If you notice, we have some quarterbacks that are smaller in the league. Quarterbacks like, oh my God, my mind just went blank. In Arizona, Kyler Murray.
He's becoming forgettable, isn't he?
Well, he gets hurt. The smaller guys tend to get hurt. That's what ends up. That's what you end up with a smaller quarterback. And I think Bryce Young, I cannot imagine Bryce Young throwing from an NFL pocket, which is pretty small. Anthony Richardson. Let me say this about Anthony Richardson. Physically, he's a beast. He's an absolute beast. He's built like Cam Newton. Unfortunately, he probably throws like Cam Newton. He has a 54% accuracy.
Hey, I'm just loosening up my arm.
Yeah, 54% accuracy in college. When you have Kyle Pitts and Richardson didn't have Pitts.
No, he didn't have Pitts.
Trask did.
Kyle Trask did.
Right.
The Kyles left after the same season.
Right. The thing is 54% accuracy. That's a really hard thing to fix. It's a hard thing to teach. Accuracy is a hard thing to teach. That's one of those things you either have it or you don't. Kind of like you can't teach height. You're as tall as you are. You're as accurate as you are. So that's my takeaways when it comes to that.
You think Richardson goes top 10?
Man, he's becoming all the rage. I think when you have a quarterback that is built like him, that's built like Cam Newton, that you see the speed, you see him running around in the underwear Olympics. When you see this, people are going to start to salivate. These guys are going to start to salivate and think, oh, what I could coach out of him, what I can make out of him. But I think he's going to go early. I think accuracy is something that I feel like that's his I feel like that's his downfall. That's his Achilles heel, and I just don't know that you get past that.
Because he hasn't started that many games. 2 seasons ago,
Yeah.
his only start was against Georgia, and he literally got beat up.
Yeah.
Then he started this past season. But, I mean, he does not have that much experience, quite frankly.
Right. Which is not that unusual anymore coming out of college, though.
No, it's not. I mean, people make fortunes off potential all the time.
Right. And he will. He will make a small fortune off of his potential. But yeah, that's what I expect. Dave, do you have anything you want to add before we get going for the night?
I keep going back to your almost prophetic comment where it's like the circus has left town and I'm kind of settling in and liking it.
Yeah.
It was a fun ride with Master Brady, and it was enjoyable and the golden years of Buck football. But I'm looking forward to this season and to see what it's going to look like. And some of the uncertainty is actually a bit exciting. So let's see what Kyle Trask can do.
Exactly. It's going to be football again, not the Brady show. We're going to watch football. And I'm kind of excited about that. It's going to get back to it. When I first started working at my current job, in the parking lot of this mall, the shopping mall, where our building is, sort of attached to it, there was literally a gigantic circus tent that was set up. And it took up a lot of the parking lot, and there was a lot of activity. There was a lot of stuff going on, and it was kind of crazy for the first several weeks. There was this circus, and the big tent was there, and the lights and the hoopla. And I remember driving up the day that they were gone, and there was somebody in the parking lot that was sweeping. And it was almost like you would see in central casting. Here's this guy sweeping. The circus left town, and they're sweeping up the parking lot. And that's what I feel like we're doing right now this year, is a little bit of that. We're cleaning up from the circus. The circus was a lot of fun. We had a great time at the circus. But, okay, now it's time to get back to business. Now it's time for the real world to begin again, because, guys, Tom Brady being your quarterback, that's just not real life, okay? It happened in real life, but that's just not real life. And don't get spoiled. And listen, if you're a Bucs fan, now's the time when you really prove it. Now's the time when you really are a fan. It's easy to just root for the winners. And you guys complained the entire time Brady was here anyway. It's time, guys. It's time to be Bucs fans. What's Jeff say here? Richardson's issue is footwork more than accuracy. 54%. I don't know about that. You can fix footwork. And I don't know if being inaccurate is simply because of your footwork. I think there's more to it than that. There's decision making. There's all kinds of things. Asked Jameis. So anyway, yeah.
What's he doing these days?
Well, seems to be out of work, right along with Marcus Mariota. They'll be looking for somewhere to settle in, and I listen. It's not going to be here. Stop it. Don't think about it. Stop it. Maybe Mariota. I could see Mariota coming. That's possible. Jameis is not coming back. They are not going to do that. The mess that would make. You talk about a circus. Oh my God. No.
That never crossed my mind.
Right.
No.
Right. And I don't think it's going to be Baker Mayfield. I think it's going to be Sam Darnold or Jacoby Brissett, or maybe Taylor Heineke. Somebody who's going to be okay, who wants to press for number one, but it's okay being number two. That's what I think we're looking at. And frankly, any of them, that's fine. Let's see what we got. This is Todd Bowles' year to sort of begin to set the path and put his mark on this team. Last year was just sort of an extension of the previous year. And by the way, I think Bruce Arians really screwed Todd Bowles, whether he intended to or not. He really screwed Todd Bowles. I think he left him in a situation where he couldn't even really coach. He had to sort of try to let Arians coach by proxy, sort of, kind of, and not really though. And it was just a mess. And
He
I
didn't
don't think
have time to pick his own coaches. It was just thrust upon him under the guise of Arians saying, "Oh, I want him to become head coach, so we still have talent and in a good situation." Well, it wasn't.
Right. And that's that. Anyway, onward and upward. This year, guys, it's time to be Bucs fans again. It's time to be Bucs fans. It's time to watch the games hoping you win. It's time to root, gosh, maybe we can make the playoffs. Maybe we can, instead of going in with this cocky, well, we got the playoffs. I'm sure we'll make the playoffs. It's not going to be that easy. So as a Bucs fan, it's time to be Bucs fans. But let's try a little bit this year to stop complaining so much. I kept it good there. To stop complaining so much. Just the constant complaining it just gets old, guys. It just gets old. And
I have a quick follow-up about, and I am complaining, but it's for a good cause.
Okay.
Roger Goodell said that flag football game, that atrocity is it's not going anywhere. Well, you know what, Raj? Neither is my remote, and I can guarantee you it isn't going to go on the flag football channel. I feel better now.
So Dave was trying to say, don't be a baby, Roger. Don't be a baby. I can't disagree.
Never a lack for material on that.
I can only tell you I didn't watch one down. And I'm not.
15 seconds of my life I can't get back.
Yep. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, listening, doing whatever, partaking. We appreciate you guys big time. We will be back next week right here. Same bat time, same bat channel, 9:00. We should be more consistent at 9:00 now. And we look forward to seeing you then. Dave, you got anything you want to add?
It's good day. We're one day closer to kickoff of the 2023 National Football League season. Just look at it that way.
That's right. It's good to have you back, Dave. Really is good to have you back. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Go Bucs. Go Bucs. Go Bucs.